problems where you're finding distance are slightly more complicated than the ones where you're just solving for velocity. The reason is the equation is set up velocity equals change in distance over time, so we've got to do some algebraic computations to switch this around, some multiplying and dividing, to make it so that we're finding the distance. So question 5 says calculate the distance that Pedro will run if he maintains an average speed of 10 kilometers per hour for 5 hours. So calculate the distance. Okay. He maintains an average speed, so we'll use average speed as our velocity. So 10 kilometers per hour, I'm going to write V underneath that and underline it. That's my velocity, and I'll write that in here. So 10 kilometers per hour. All right. Distance, calculate the distance. We're trying to solve for distance, so I'll write a question mark in there. And then time. So Pedro will run if he maintains an average speed of 10 kilometers per hour for 5 hours. So my time is going to be 5 hours. Alright, great. We're going to plug in our values, squiggly line to separate. My velocity up here is 10 kilometers per hour. So I'm going to write 10 kilometers per hour equals. So change in x, or x I don't know, so I'm going to write x up there still. And then time, we know time is 5 hours. Alright, perfect. So, in order for me to get x by itself, to isolate this variable, what I have to do is I have to get rid of this 5. And since it's being divided on this side, I'm going to multiply time on both sides. So I'm going to get that up on both sides. So I'll show you how that's done. So, and I'm going to draw a line to separate these out a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to rewrite my whole equation that I have here. So 10 kilometers per hour equals x over 5 hours. So 5 hours is my time. This is multiply time on both sides, and I know I want to get x by itself. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to separate this out with a nice squiggly red line. So 10, I'll rewrite 10 kilometers per hour equals x over 5 hours. And I'm going to multiply 5 hours on this side of the equation. What that's going to do is I'll have 5 hours on the top, 5 hours on the bottom, they'll cancel out. But if I do it to this side, I have to do the same thing to this side. So I'll multiply 5 hours on this side too. So now I've got, over here I have 5 hours times 10 kilometers per hour. 5 times 10 is going to give me 50. And I've got hours on the top up here multiplying, and I'm dividing by hours here. So those two actually cancel out. So we can get rid of the hours. So the units I'm left with on this side are kilometers. So I'll write 50 kilometers equals. So over here we have 5 hours on the bottom, 5 hours on the top. This is really important because we can cancel out the 5 and the hours from both sides. So the only thing that I'm left with on this side is going to be x. And so I can write this out with my correct units. I'll write out x equals 50 kilometers. And that is my final answer.